Well, good morning from the capital of Oklahoma. We're back on Route 66, which originally 100 years ago passed right by the state capitol here in Oklahoma City, where yes, there is in fact an oil well directly on the state capitol grounds. Now, if you've been following along on our Route 66 adventures, you can see we've had somewhat of a weather change. We went from 95 degrees to 55 degrees. Now, it's kind of wet and soggy and misty out here. So today, rather than roaming all around Oklahoma City and trying to dig up Route 66 history outdoors, we thought it might be nice to go inside, but not at the state capitol, at this, the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. That title is a little bit of a mouthful. I hope I got that correct. But either way, we are going inside and getting out of the cold. I was here about 10 years ago and really enjoyed my time here. Not to mention the fact that supposedly they now have a Route 66 100th anniversary exhibit. Seems like the perfect way to experience the Mother Road indoors in a climate-controlled atmosphere. Oh, wow, look at this place. Ooh, yeah, all the Route 66 stuff in the gift shop window is a good sign. It's pretty pricey to get into this place, but it is worth it. And since this is a museum about the West, I suppose there's no better place to start than the West Wing. Look at this. It says, find your West. And look at the size of that old Wells Fargo and Company stagecoach, which you can climb up inside for the perfect old Western fun pick. Oh, dude, yes. Look at this. They've added some more projections that I remember being in here 10 years ago. This is awesome. Oh, the music, the projections, the 3D props. The spirit of the West. And once you get in here, there's a very long hallway, and I can remember exploring all of the art galleries first last time, but this time I know better. I know where the good stuff is. We've got to head to Prosperity Junction. You ain't gonna find nothing good in Prosperity Junction, son. Don't listen to that dummy. Dude, this impressed me so much when I first came here. I've been waiting a decade to come back. It's like the Disneyland of old Western museums. And that is not hyperbole. Look at this. As soon as you cross the threshold into the old barn, this is one of the coolest ways I have ever seen legitimate artifacts displayed, like this old stagecoach right here, but then mix it with an environment that sounds authentic, looks authentic, and especially because of the lighting, absolutely feels authentic. And this is just the beginning, because look what's just around the corner. Dude, we're back in the old West. Dude, they've got all kinds of sound effects playing, the sound of the wind blowing across the plains, animals and crickets and little wisps of music. And each one of these buildings is like a little museum all of its own. They've got authentic old Western posters replicated in here. Each little window is like a little diorama, a little tableau of artifacts that sets the scene. Everything's either a peek in or a walk in. Look at some cowboy just put his hat down to go up and check his hotel room. The board sidewalks you walk down are authentically creaking. This place is absolutely amazing. Everything is so real, except the string lights. I don't think they had string lights back in the old West. Dude, this is amazing. It's the wildest town in the wilderness. Well, at least the wildest indoor town. Look at this. They got the old Dispatch out here, the town newspaper, with the old printing press in there. But ask any cowboy what the best part of any old town is, and he'll tell you to park your horse over here at the livery stable, make sure they're well fed and taken care of, and then your first order of business is the saloon. Barkeeper, we need some whiskey. We're thirsty. Just wait a cotton-picking minute. I hear plenty of voices, but I don't see the barkeeper. I'm the barkeeper, and I'd give you some whiskey, only I don't have any hands. Well, land sakes, this is the weirdest saloon I ever been in my life. London's disgusted because there's no whiskey in here, but you know what there is? If you stand in here long enough, there's a whole little storyline about Prosperity Junction playing out with voices from behind the counter. It's almost like the town is populated, but everybody's just out of sight. Dude, this place is freaking amazing. The parking lot was absolutely packed, so we thought we were gonna be facing huge Disneyland-style crowds in this Disneyland-style Western town. But it turns out it was more like there was some kind of special event or something going on. So actually, we've had the run of the museum pretty much all to ourselves. Look at the old photo studio in here. The legend I always heard growing up is that people never smiled in photos in the Victorian era because you had to hold your pose for so long it would hurt your face to keep your face in a smile. But now I discovered that's not true. I mean, the photos only took still like 5 seconds or something like that. So you could have smiled. Apparently Unfortunately, the reality was it wasn't the fashion to smile, right? I thought people would take your portrait more seriously if you looked like London always does in the background and kept a stiff upper lip. Look at me. I am serious. You will take me seriously. I am full of dignity. I love that as people walk around down here, you can hear the wooden sidewalks creaking, the crazy level of detail, the fact that you can hear the music and the voices spilling out of the buildings, like I said, the fact that you're indoors, but it feels very much like you're actually outside. There's something about the sounds, the textures, the streets here that you're walking on. It makes a big difference. I keep wanting to compare this place to Disneyland, but for starters, it feels more like something that would be at Epcot just because of the whole indoor-outdoor thing. But I also feel like it's been a long time since Disney built anything up to this level of detail, like this immersive feeling. It feels so amazing. It's exactly the way I remembered it from a decade ago. Dude, this is so awesome, and it feels so authentically Old Western, and we should know because we've been in the Old West, the real Old West, for several days now. Okay, let's go inside some of these buildings. Let's head inside the bank. It's another one of those places where if you stop to listen, there are voices behind the counter narrating the scene for you.
Good day to you then.
And to you, Mr.
Name's Doyle. Vern Doyle.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss.
It's Mrs. Everest. Can I help you?
I sure hope so. I'm here about the cashier job. My name's John Prescott, and I am, as your advertisement specifies, an honest man, quick and accurate with figures.
Well, Mr. Prescott, we require a bit more confirmation of your attributes. Have you any references?
I do indeed. Here are letters from my previous employers at the First National Bank of St. Louis and the St. Louis Railway.
See, listen to that. I hope this poor guy gets a job. London knows what it's like to be on the job hunt. He was hunting for a job for months when we were back at home. Luckily, he didn't get one, so he could come with me on this trip. But he knows the struggle, trying to find that entry-level foot in the door. See, that's pretty sweet. There's at least 3 buildings that do that. The bank has little conversations going on, the schoolhouse up yonder that we'll see in a minute, and of course the saloon that we were just in. But it's a very different story over at the church. Over at the church, unfortunately, you've got to supply your own sermons. Yes, young man, come in and have a seat and listen to the good word.
Do I have to?
No, but you're gonna want to. Now listen, 7 years, no, that's a political speech, hold on. Once upon a time, that's a fairy story, let's see. A good word, a good word. Well, I do remember when I was younger, my grandfather would take me to the congregation all the time. Son, he says, we're going to the congregation and we're gonna hear the good word. So I've heard many a good word in my time, spoken many a good word. Well, that's not for me to say. It's up to others to say whether or not I've ever done the good word or spoken the good word or heard the good word or lived the good word. But of course, the best way to hear the good word is to read it in the good book. The good book is full of good words and good instructions and good intentions and knowledge and wisdom. But of all the words that I've ever heard, and all the good words and bad words and upwards and downwards and sidewards and leftwards, I think the best words I can leave you with, you wonderful people here, is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Love your neighbor and love your enemies, and etc.
Amen.
Whew, been a while since I preached a sermon. I think I did okay though. I mean, after all, I drew quite a crowd. I love Prosperity Junction in here because it has so many little weird side alleys and nooks and crannies that make the space feel so much bigger than it actually is. Look at this. This is Edward L. Calhoun, MD. And if we act like creepers and peek, an alarm! Someone's robbing the bank! That keeps on happening. I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't have invested all of our money into this bank, in this particular museum. Anyways, I was about to say if we harness our inner creeper and peek through the doctor's windows, which seems to be encouraged here. You can see all the old doctor's office artifacts in there. And you can peek through the front door and see into his wife's parlor, where she's been doing a little knitting. Wait a minute, the doctor's not married. It's the doctor that's been knitting. Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with a man who knits, but I'm pretty sure in the Old West you had to keep that to yourself. Well, this is the kind of place I dislike the most. School. Oh, I can hear some poor kids trying to learn. Some teachers correcting them. Reminds me of my old school days, London. But I wasn't sitting up here in the front of the class. I was back here with one of those hats shaped like a cone. Wow. Dude, this place is so perfect. It's like a freaking movie set.
What you doing here, boy? You know this town ain't big enough for the both of us.
What do you mean? This town is plenty big enough for the both of us.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm gonna shoot you anyway.
Oh, it looks like Prosperity Junction is getting even more prosperous.
People are coming from all over the nation.
They're homesteading, opening up businesses. Hopefully they don't invest in that bank though. Dude, every room like this is so perfect. And these are all actual old Western artifacts, which is why the alarm keeps getting triggered, because people keep reaching over the little bars, reaching over the little public areas into the museum areas. And every single time someone reaches too far and the alarm goes off, an employee has to come out and check the room that got triggered, that the alarm got triggered in. It's kind of funny because the security guards are actually dressed kind of like old Western marshals. I've seen a few people get scolded, but so far I haven't seen them throw anyone into the pokey here, which is one of the coolest spots, right? It's like down this dark alley behind the sheriff's office. There's the old calaboose. And I believe this is an actual old Western artifact as well. And this one, you're allowed to go inside. Oh no! Not my son in the prison. My teachers always said it would happen to me, but I never thought it would happen to my son.
It's okay, boy. We're gonna do a jailbreak.
All you gotta do is untwist the thing. I twist it, and then we open it. You're free, you're liberated. He's reformed. All right, we're having way too much fun in here. We've actually spent way more time in Prosperity Junction than I meant to, because this museum is huge and we've barely seen any of the other exhibits. In fact, we haven't seen anything else at all. Not only are the galleries that were here 10 years ago, last time I was here, huge, they've also added a lot to this museum. So first of all, as you can imagine, they have the American Cowboy Gallery, and it is absolutely massive, laid out with all kinds of amazing artifacts, displays. There's voices of cowboys coming from every direction. It literally covers every facet of cowboy history, ranching history, everything from the chuck wagon to the vaqueros, the origin of cowboy boots, cowboy hats, the history of the open range, the establishment of the ranches, and of course the invention of the devil's rope, of barbed wire, and every single case here all along the gallery in every single room, and there are many, is absolutely chock full of artifacts. And dude, the barbed wire room alone, look at all these drawers here on the sides of the room. Every single one of these has got different types of barbed wire in them. They're all labeled, where they came from. Don't even get us started on the cattle brands. I love seeing the origin of like the chaps and the different types of Western clothing. Look at that massive wall of saddles over here. There's so much information here. You could spend an hour just reading about saddles. There's a massive side room just devoted to the bunkhouse and bunkhouse life. And these are all authentic tools and old cowboy coats and chaps and leather straps. Look at those original tobacco sacks, matchbooks, like the, what's that called? The harmonica box there, the old dominoes. It is massive. You can learn so much here. See, when I was growing up, Westerns had kind of fallen out of fashion. They're still pretty much out of fashion in Southern California, in my part of the country. So I used to be like, yeah, cowboys are all right, I guess. I mean, I like some old cowboy movies, but I'm not really that interested in them. But it was coming here 10 years ago that really made me realize just how much there was to learn, how deep and necessary the history was. It totally changed my perspective on how the old cowboys changed the West. He remembers. He remembers. Of course, eventually function became fashion and fact became fiction. First in the pages of newspapers and dime novels, then later on the silver screen. Hollywood took over the Western storytelling and changed our image of the cowboy forever. Oh, look, there he is, the old singing cowboy himself, Gene Autry. Now, see, here's the thing. I know that some of you who are younger, born, you know, in the 80s, 90s, even the aughts, I know a large portion of that demographic will be going, Westerns. But I have now watched a lot of old Western movies, and they live up to the hype, man. There are a lot of really good Westerns. There's a reason that whole genre dominated for decades. I especially love any Western with Jimmy Stewart in it. There's a lot of those free Roku channels now, and Pluto and all these different streaming things will have a lot of free Western TV shows and movies. And Allie, who is absolutely kind of allergic to cowboy culture, or she used to be, and I have been watching all these cowboy movies and TV shows, and they are so much stinking fun, you know? One of my absolute favorite shows ever, Tales of Wells Fargo. And there's the star, Dale Robertson, right there. Dude, those are his guns. Those are Jim Hardy's guns from Tales of Wells Fargo. Oh, heck yeah, man. It's really fun in here and perfect for a cold, rainy day because you can actually enter this mock theater here and watch some old westerns. Well, at least clips from old movies in the form of a documentary that I'm pretty sure is narrated by Sam Elliott. I want to sit here and watch this whole thing. There's so much more museum to see. And of course, what would old cowboy and Indian stories be without the Native Americans? And unlike the stereotypical depictions of old Hollywood, this museum shows you the real stuff, tells you the real story. Dude, I love seeing the old original artifacts here, things that are legitimately prehistoric, and then some much more modern Native American beadwork. Look at that. Impressive. Most impressive. Wow, now look at that map of the United States. That is much different than the way we think of this country today. I love that. I love that Native American gallery over here. But that's not all there is. There is mile after mile of old Western painting on display in this place. Some of them are very, 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 very impressive. Seriously, this is an amazing art genre when you see it all together like this. But this part of the museum is one of those parts where everyone's being really quiet. I feel like I'm in a library and I'm going to get detention. So we're gonna move through this area quickly this time. People take Western art very seriously. Last time I was here, there was actually a singing cowboy in here. There was a guy playing old Gene Autry songs on his guitar, dear old Western skies and everything. It set the mood a little better. That was a little too quiet for me. I like the Wild West, not the whoosh West, you know? Ooh, I almost forgot to mention that we also passed by the Weitzenhofer Gallery of Fine American Firearms, which is an insane, like seriously amazing collection of the guns and knives and gun accoutrements of the Old West. I know you want some of these, London. London is very interested in firearms. There's just one problem. He'll shoot your eye out, kid. Actually, London's a good shot. He's won couple of different shooting awards, believe it or not. Dude, there's so many other galleries in here we can't even cover. The Rodeo Gallery, which was actually fascinating on my last visit, is actually closed today, so that spares us one. Now let's not forget that it's not just a cowboy museum, it's also a museum of Western heritage, and they have a whole gallery with epic displays about every kind of pioneer, trapper, backwoodsman, hunter, overlander you could possibly imagine. Not forgetting, of course, the people that were already there who they encountered as they moved westward. And of course, plenty of information about the U.S. Army in the West, the Buffalo Soldiers, the forts, the enlisted men, their wives, just every facet of Western life that you can imagine. And believe me, even if you're not into quote unquote cowboy stuff, not only is it absolutely more fascinating than you ever thought possible. Hey, I remember these guys from the Country Bear Jamboree. Like I said, you will gain a whole new appreciation for every facet of life in the American West. See, this is where you're supposed to go from hunting and trapping back into the Rodeo Gallery. But like I said, the Rodeo Gallery is closed at the moment. Oh, look at that. This is where John Wick first learned to shoot. Dude, if I had to be out on the frontier, that's the gun I'd want. The Gatling gun. Okay, still no sign of the Route 66 exhibit. I don't even know if it's out here yet. But since the last time I was here, there have been massive expansions, mostly outdoors. Because look at this, there's a whole freaking train depot out here. I don't even remember this building being on the premises last time I was out here on these grounds. We've got a replica of an old sod house. We were talking about that yesterday. And behind it in that building is a massive event center. But look at this. They've gone absolutely crazy and brought the Disneyland style experience from the indoors to the outdoors, recreating full environments from the Old West. Look at this. We got the Love's Trading Post out here. Lennon was like, hey, we can get some gas, we can get some grub. A little bit of a truck stop joke there. And then look at these huge hoodoos out here, very much like Utah, Colorado, New Mexico. There are full-on giant western cliffs, and look at this. They have recreated several different sort of lodgings and environments for Native Americans, including an absolutely massive Pueblo cliff dwelling. Dude, look at this. Would you look at the size of that display? That is incredible. The detail is insane. This is like the kind of thing I would imagine Epcot would have become if the Walt Disney Company had kept investing in it, you know? I don't know who built all this stuff, but it is amazing. Oh, and this is all too real. Low bridge here. Oh yeah, you come inside of here. I feel like I'm in Mesa Verde or Chaco Canyon or something. And then of course they have some speakers out here giving you some information. This is incredible. Like at least in this one spot right now, doesn't feel like we're in Oklahoma. Just look at that with London walking around for scale. That is so freaking impressive. And then look down over here, they've got a replica Hopi dwelling from one of their pueblos, and it just goes on and on from there. You can enter dwellings of the Caddo people, perfectly replicated Kiowa teepee, and it just keeps going and going. Look at this Pawnee Earth Lodge here. Now, I've never seen one of these in real life. I love the logs to enter here, and wow. Okay, that's an impressive space, dude. I could see myself bedding down for the night in here. Look at the campfire, chimney. This is just so impressive. And then over yonder, just in the shadow of some of the new playground features, an old dugout canoe and a Chickasaw council house. Again, there's more information playing on the speakers here, but you could sit down in here and read the signs. I love the little glowing fireplaces. This is probably a good time to mention that there's also a huge outdoor garden area, which includes all kinds of statues, Western art statues, a huge statue of Buffalo Bill, and apparently the real-life graves of several famous Western horses out on the property as well. And don't forget the aforementioned playground features, and of course the waterfalls, the depot I showed you before, these replica rail ties and railroad tracks, and even a statue of Annie Oakley. We just saw Buffalo Bill's real-life train out in Nevada a couple months ago. Yeah, dude, this place has just gotten insanely plussed up. This is a must stop if you are doing a Route 66 trip through Oklahoma City. We weren't originally gonna come here at all. Luckily, the weather turned out like this and gave us a good excuse because this is fantastic. One of the best museums in the United States. Just about the only thing we didn't find in this museum, weirdly enough, is the Route 66 stuff. Now, I know there's supposed to be a whole 100th anniversary exhibit. At least that's what I done heard on my way into town. But either I heard wrong, and yes, that's a cattle pun, or maybe it's just not ready yet. Okay, it turns out what happened is the exhibit was here and closed on May 3rd. So now that gift shop window is basically all that's left. Well, amongst the cowboy hats in here, they do have an impressive range of fancy Route 66 souvenirs, at least. I'm a little disappointed. I don't know why you would shut down the exhibit before the 100th anniversary really gets going. Seems like the kind of thing you'd want to keep out here for the entire 100th anniversary year, but what do I know? I don't run any museums, I'm just a member of some. All right, well, on the one hand, I'm pretty frustrated that the Route 66 exhibit has apparently come to an end, but on the other hand, the Route 66 festivities here at the museum have not come to an end. In one way, they're just beginning because there is something incredible, Route 66 related, that is coming to this property. We were a little too early in the year to actually see it, but just down below the museum in what was their overflow parking lot, a new megalith of Route 66 is about to rise up from this very ground. Kix 66, a 30-foot, 6-alley tall, gigantic neon boot that will hopefully be out here welcoming Oklahoma City Route 66 travelers for the next 100 years of its history. Look at that, there's the concept artwork. A gigantic neon boot and a big old piece of cactus. That is going to be freaking sick. Unfortunately, it's not here yet, and the Route 66 exhibit has gone, but I still think this was a pretty profitable exercise. A little Western history, a little museum wandering, just what the body needs on a kind of misty, gross, cold day in Oklahoma City. All right, I hate to end abruptly, but I think that the museum took up more time than I imagined, and our next stop is somewhere so completely different and yet contains, I think you would say, equally magnificent art. It's a little bit of tonal whiplash, but I can't go to Oklahoma City and not go to the Oklahoma City Wonder House. So please catch up with us there in the next adventure. You can subscribe and ring the bell. You can give it a fat thumbs up. That makes sure that YouTube will show you more of these videos, and it's fast, free, easy to do, and helps me out a lot. If you want to help us fund future adventures, we've got a merch store with hats and buttons and car magnets and stickers and literally the best hot sauce in the West. There's also our Patreon. All of that is at randomland.com. It's starting to rain now, so I think I've done my duty. Go home and sleep well. See you next time.